Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're fitting the OM606 into the Landrover. This video is dedicated to taking the 200 TDI out, taking the OM606 out of the E-Class, putting it into this truck. We're going to show you what parts you'll need. We've swapped the sump and the oil pump, and there's a few things you have to do. But yeah, we'll jump back in time, start from the beginning, and hope you enjoy the video. So guys, first thing we're going to do is get this 200 TDI pulled out of here. Make space for the OM606, and I'm going to show you guys the adapter kit and the engine mounts and bits and bobs that I've got. They're all on the back of the truck, so I'll show you that now. This is the adapter kit. This is all the parts that I've been collecting and buying. I managed to find a second-hand sump. You need a rear mount sump, so this is the sump off an OM608, the 3.2 litre Mercedes. I managed to get the sump and the oil pump, which I had to get them from a different country actually. Hard to find at the minute in the UK. The clutch, this is the clutch kit from Diesel Pump UK, and the adapter kit is from Diesel Pump UK. I got the heavy duty release bearing, and I bought the 200 TDI to OM606 mounts. I mean, I could make these mounts. You know, we have got the facilities to make these, but for the price they are, it's hard to warrant spending all that time making something when he makes them so well at such a good price, really. So it seems daft to make them. And the other part I bought was this cast exhaust elbow. So this part will bolt to the standard Mercedes manifold, and that part is a T3 flange, which will fit to that new turbo. So hopefully I've got enough bits there to get it in anyway. Not running, because we're going to put the mechanical diesel pump on it, but that's going to be a later video when I can save up a few more pennies. Yeah, we'll get this 200 TDI torn out and then we'll go from there. So I've unbolted everything. I just need to undo the bracket on the front pipe once I lift the engine a little bit, and we'll get it out. So this is the 200 TDI out of the Landrover. I'm going to put this engine, I'm going to put it in. I've got a Series 1 Landrover, and it's already chopped up and it's not original. Somebody's already trialled it at some point in its life. So I think this will be a great little engine for that, make it a bit more economical and a little bit more pep. Next job though, I'm going to need to get the bell housing out because I need to notch where the starter motor goes. So that's going to come out next. And I'm also going to need the engine, the OM606, and that is still stuck in the Mercedes at the minute, so I'm going to have to get that on the ramp, get some tools and get that engine pulled out of there. Made light work of that. So it's the next day. We're going to get the Landrover pushed outside, I'll get the Mercedes backed in, and then we'll start taking the engine out. Hopefully we can get over this bump on the ramp. So this is the engine we're pulling out. It's the Mercedes OM606. It's not done too many miles, this one, just over 140,000, but it's got a full Mercedes history, so that's really good. The car has got plenty of electrical issues, so that's another reason. It is rotten as well, so it's not worth salvaging. But the engine, obviously, that's the main part we need. So right, we'll get it out.
So guys, that's it. The motor's out the car. I'm going to get all the workshop tidied up quickly. Then I'm going to get the engine on stand so we can get it cleaned, take all the ancillaries off, the air conditioning pump, etc. Going to have to move the alternator because that's in the way of the steering box on the Landrover. I might make a bracket for that, might buy one, just see how much they are. Obviously we can fabricate brackets and stuff here, so I'll maybe just make one. But I'll see you in a few seconds of the workshop tidy.
So guys, I've got the Mercedes pushed out, the Land Rover pushed back in, I've tidied the workshop up a little bit, and we've got the engine on stand. What I'm going to do now is pull off the turbo, the air conditioning pump, the alternator, and any of the ancillaries that we don't really need, so we can get to the block and get it all cleaned up and painted up really nice. Then we can get the engine mounts on and get the transmission adapter fitted, and then we can get it in the front of the truck. So I want to put you in time-lapse mode now and remove some of this stuff. So after a few minutes, I've got the alternator and the aircon pump off, one of the engine mounts. I've been dousing all these bolts for the exhaust manifold with penetrating oil for a couple of days. I'm going to try to get those off now. Get the exhaust and turbo off, and then we'll get this bit of wiring off and that other engine mount on this side. Then we can see where we get to. So this is how far I've got. Some of the studs wound out of the head, taking the exhaust manifold off, but nothing too untoward happened there. The paint on the block itself is really good. It's not too bad at all on this side. I'm going to give it another coat of paint just to freshen it up. Heat-proof engine paint. This side needs a bit more cleaning. It's got some corrosion, but nothing too bad really. I'm going to leave the injection pump on it for now so that I can turn the engine by hand on the crankshaft, just lining everything up and getting it set back up in the truck. Once it's all set up and installed, then I can remove the injection pump and get the next one ordered. And they're the bits that came off. Well, most of them anyway. And I managed to get the turbo off the exhaust manifold as well. So yeah, all in all, pretty good afternoon getting that stripped down. Next job, get some paint on it and then start putting it back together again. So guys, I've got the block all painted up nicely. I've got it all wire brushed and scraped and got all the loose paint off. I tapped out the bolts for the engine mounts because they've gone rusty in the block. That wasn't a big job. Bolted both the engine mounts on. I painted this side as well. I've took the oil filter housing off just so I could paint all around that area. And I've painted behind the pump as much as I can. I will finish painting behind the pump once we remove it to fit the new injection pump, but I want to leave it on for now obviously. So yeah, next job, we're going to flip the engine upside down and pull the sump off and put the rear mount sump on. So guys, I'm going to try and get this engine turned over, and I know it's going to be really heavy. Yeah, I'm just doing that. think that'll do. Dad just helped me then flip it over. It is really heavy, this engine, and it's quite top heavy on this stand and quite long, so I was thankful of a bit of a hand there. I'm going to get all these bolts whipped out around the sump, and we'll get the sump off, and then we can change the oil pump and then put the rear mount sump on, and then we can get it ready to go in the truck. So all good. Moment of truth, really. I haven't been in this engine, so I'm hoping it's as good as it sounds. It sounds lovely. We're going to have to pull a main off just to check, because we've got to change some bolts around anyway, but there we go. Sump off. Right, I'll grab the GoPro and show you guys inside. I've got the sump off and it's nice and clean inside. Well, it's black, but it's not full of sludge, so that's really good. That's the old sump, and this is the new one. And I actually bought this from eBay. It came from Latvia, and I was a little bit concerned when it arrived, just because there's some stress cracking. I don't know if you can see on the camera, and I was a little bit worried about that. I did check on the internet and everyone said don't worry about it, it is normal. And I pulled the sump off this one and it is exactly the same, if not a little bit worse. So that has put my mind at rest that that is normal. And I did order the fitting kit from Diesel Pump UK, so he supplies the gasket, all the bolts, bits and bobs you need, a stopper to go where the oil dipstick was in standard engine, and a new dipstick for the rear mount sump. And also we replaced the level sensor there with a blanking plate, because we're not going to need that anymore. So yeah, that's all looking good. I'll get the camera set up and I'll start pulling this pump off. I've got the pump and the windage tray off. That's the bottom of the engine now, all opened up. This is the new oil pump, or new used oil pump I've got for it. I did pop the pump apart and have a look, and it's all nice and clean inside. And then what I did is I just got a tub, cut the top off, and then got some 530, and I just span the pump by hand until it pumped oil out, so make sure it was nice and clean, fresh oil coming out of there. So, right, we'll get that installed now. Right guys, so I've just got some grease on the O-ring, make sure it doesn't fall out. Try and get this pump on. I'm just going to get all the bolts in just loosely before anything's tightened up. This is one thing to consider if you're going to do an OM606 conversion. There is cost involved in all these parts, the sump and adapters and bits and bobs. It's not the cheapest conversion to do. That's the pump on and the gasket dropped on. I did use a little tiny bit of Loctite RTV on the back area here and the front here, just where the two surfaces join from the steel block to the aluminium timing case, just as where that join is. That's, if it's going to leak, that's where it's going to leak. So yeah, right, get the sump on and then we'll get it flipped back over. Right, we'll try and get this rotated back round. It's on the engine crane. Next job is pull the flex plate off and then build the flywheel assembly up with that clutch kit. So we'll get that pulled off and then we'll go from there. So guys, that's the flywheel off, or the flex plate off should I say. Dropped onto the back of the new diesel pump flywheel. I'm going to just drop those bolts in loosely for now, then I can put the whole assembly back on and torque them up through the normal access hole. Once they're all torqued up, I know it's centralised because it's on the crank spigot, then we can put the clutch together properly and torque the flywheel on. Right, let's get on with it. Right, I've got these 6 bolts just dropped in, they're all loose so that it's still got a bit of movement on it. Just going to take the clutch apart and then we'll put the flywheel on. Now I know the flywheel's got to be centred in the right place on the flex plate because it's on the spigot, so it can't be wrong. So guys, that's where I'm going to torque all the little bolts up through that access hole there. I don't know if it's easy enough to see. Crank bolt, 65 Newton meters, thread lock. It's a nice little touch, isn't it? So that's the flywheel and clutch all fitted. Next I'm going to bolt the adapter plate on, then I'm going to bolt the bell housing to it and drill out the bolts for the starter motor. That's the adapter plate just bolted on with 4 bolts. I'm going to put the bell housing on now and then drill through the 2 starter motor mounting bolts from the back. Luke from Diesel Pump UK just mentioned doing this. It is really important. If you don't do that, then you won't be able to access the heads of the 2 starter motor Allen keys once the engine's installed. If you ever have a starter fail, you'll have to take the engine back out. So if you've drilled those 2 holes, you can get an Allen key through the bell housing and get it off. Right, we'll get it bolted on. The bolts are now in for the starter motor. If you can see through, there's one in there. Like I said, without drilling those holes, you'll not be able to undo those in the future. I think it's time now to get the bell housing the adapter plate all tightened up, and then we'll get the bell housing back on the truck and start to get it in. I'm just putting a tiny bit of grease on these so they don't seize up. I don't think we'll ever have to take it apart, but you never know. Never say never. Right, next job, bolt the starter motor on, and then I think it's ready to go in the truck. That's the bell housing back on the truck and the new release bearing fitted, and everything's fitted at this end. I did have to make a relief cut in the sump for the slave cylinder, and I matched it to the cutout that Diesel Pump made into the adapter plate. The slave cylinder runs right there, and that's just too tight otherwise. The only other cut I've had to make is I've had to cut out the ring here. Just cut out a tiny chunk of that section because the starter nose is going to touch that. I'll just put it on there so you can see. That's the ring. That's where the ring would sit. You can see the starter nose is just going to touch that, so I just had to relief that as well. But that should be it now. That should go in. So hopefully, all being well, we'll get it in there. We'll give it a best shot anyway. Right, try to get this in. always the nerve-wracking part of the project, line lifted up. Bit of snack. So this is our issue. The inlet manifold and the heater are touching each other, and we've got another 2 or 3 inches to go yet. It's not quite up. So I'm going to just have to unbolt the heater, move it slightly across. I think we might be able to just move the whole heater just across 2 or 3 inches, because I know there was a little bit of clearance between the inlet and the wing. So I might be able to get away with it that way. Otherwise, I have seen there's different inlet manifolds available for these. So hopefully just moving the heater though, that's going to be the cheapest option, I think. I don't really want to be buying an inlet manifold if I can help it. So as soon as I moved the heater box, the motor just dropped straight onto the bell housing. So I've just put 2 bolts in the bell housing for now. I'm going to lift the front of the motor up slightly, get both the engine mounts in. I left these out to give me a bit of space. Sit it down onto the mounts, get the washers and nuts on, and then I put the bell housing bolts in, and then it's in. Set the dog, I might set the engine mount off that side. Yes, it's gone. Slowly. She's in. Right, look, some washers. The engine mounts. So it's in. Sits lovely on its mounts. They line up absolutely perfectly, so that's really good. I'm happy with that. There's loads of space between the front axle and the bottom of the sump, which I was concerned about. Obviously moving it to that rear sump has completely got rid of that issue. And the other thing I was worried about was this bottom hose hitting on the steering box, but there's enough space there to take a nice curved hose around there, so that won't be a problem. Inlet manifold is a little issue. I can show you that's if that touches, that's how far out we were on our bolts, so literally half an inch and it would have fitted. I think I can get away with just moving this across an inch, and then we don't have to change that, so that'll be good. But yeah, it's looking really good now. Now I can start getting the power steering pump on and the pipes to that, and make an alternator bracket. But yeah, the beast is in. What I'm going to do now though quickly is I'm just going to drop the exhaust manifold on with 2 bolts and then just bolt the turbo on, just to show you guys how it's going to look and just to see if there's any space around it. So I'll do that quickly, and yeah, we'll go from there. So that's the turbo in and the exhaust manifold. It's only just tacked in with 2 bolts just to give us an idea, and then I can run a 90 off here and the intercooler pipe straight up to there, where it go into the intercooler, and then it'll come out the intercooler this side and then straight up and up into the inlet manifold. Water hoses, one round there and the other one from the top into the top of the radiator. So that's all pretty straightforward now, and it all looks like it'll line up really well. There's more space around it than I thought there was going to be. I did actually think it's going to be really tight, but there is more room around it than I anticipated, to be honest. So that's really good. Plenty of space between the engine and the steering box. I thought that would have been tighter, but it's not. Yeah, all in all, it's looking pretty good. I can't wait to get this thing running now. So guys, I know the engine's a bit mucky at the front and I should have steam cleaned it before I put it in, but I didn't want to get it full of water because I can't run the engine without a pump. Normally, I like to steam clean them and then have them running for an hour, get everything dried out. I just don't steam clean it and then not run it for a few months while a pump comes, or 6 weeks, or whatever long it takes. So what I'm going to do, get it all running, then I will steam clean all the motor, all the aluminium on the front, and make it all look nice. One thing I'm going to do though, I'm going to send this inlet manifold off. My friend's got a vapor blaster, so I'm going to send that to him so he can vapor blast that, and then that'll look like brand new. But all in all, I'm quite happy with how this is turning out now. So guys, that's about the end for this video. I have got the front wings. I managed to pick some good second-hand front wings up, so I need to paint them black and then I can fit those. I need to paint the roof and install that properly. And I have got a windscreen, I just haven't had time to get it in yet. There's a few other bits and bobs that I've got, and there's a few bits I still need to order. Obviously I'm going to need to order an injection pump and a few other parts. I think the next video is going to be dedicated to fitting the front wings and building the exhaust system, and maybe getting the windscreen in, but that's not a major job. So, but exhaust is definitely going to be, routing is going to be quite complicated, so that's going to be something that's going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and please consider subscribing. Thank you.